Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Kesha Brody here. You're on Alive with Kesha, and we have a live story today from educator Mr. Calvin Hudson out of Byram, Mississippi, and we're sharing stories of triumph, victory, and overcoming. Mr. Hudson, thank you so much for being with us today. We're so excited to have you and to hear your amazing story.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here, proud to be here, happy to be here.
We really appreciate you and all that you're doing in the field of education. An educator at middle school in
Ye-
Byram, Mississippi.
yes,
And I was a middle school educator and a middle school principal, so I know firsthand that middle school people are awesome. There's something
they are.
special about middle school people.
They are. I do agree, Keisha. I do agree. And definitely, definitely.
And I do thank you for your service, your military veteran. So thank you so much for your service to this country.
You are welcome. You are. Thank you, and thank you for the servicemen and women of the armed forces today.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing now after your many years of service, over 20 years of service. Am I correct?
Yeah, correct. 21 years. 21 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So
hmm
so that brings you to today. So what are you doing in your life today?
Well, today, Keisha, I'm a health teacher. I am in education, and I consider myself an educator. This is my 11th year in education, and what I'm trying to do is educate the young people of tomorrow. I enjoy doing it. I've had numerous adventures dealing with kids besides my own. So I'm just trying to make sure that I do my part in sharing the knowledge that's been given to me to other kids of today. So I'm an educator.
And that's amazing that you have made that transition from the military to the classroom. What was that like? And did you start off with middle school?
No, I did not. When I first, before I retired, I knew I wanted to teach. And one of the things that a lot of servicemen do, especially retired servicemen, they go into ROTC. They become junior ROTC instructors. Well, I knew that, and I love my ROTC instructors, but I always wanted something more. I wanted something more because I felt like being in the classroom and doing other things, so far as becoming an administrator in the future, I could learn more about education. So far as the transition, I knew I wanted to be in education. So I didn't start off with middle school. I actually started as a substitute teacher in elementary school. I
Ah,
was I was a substitute teacher in elementary school, and that was an adventure for me. I found out I had more kids than I thought I had. Because see, like every kid in elementary school wants to be your kid. So
oh yeah.
yeah, that was an adventure for me. So I started elementary school as a substitute teacher. Yeah.
So what is your teaching style in the classroom?
Well,
Strictly.
I think at every level there's a difference. In elementary school, since I was only a substitute and I wasn't a full-time teacher, it was getting to know what it's like to be a teacher. Really, and before I developed a style. Once I became a teacher, the first job I had was actually a junior ROTC instructor at the Piney Woods School in Piney Woods, Mississippi. And so when I got there, so far as my style, being a former military guy, it was already a authoritarian style because that's what I was used to.
Right.
That was what I used to because of the lifestyle that I lived, being in the military for 21 years. But I quickly understood that even though I had an authoritarian a way of teaching, man, there was the kids that were not in the army. They wasn't in the army. They were students, man. We talking about 14 to 18-year-old kids.
Hmm.
So I learned to be a person that, I learned not try to be a dictator or authoritarian. So what I did, I allowed the kids to impart with me their knowledge. I became more of a person that was willing to listen instead of trying to rule with an iron fist. And
Wow.
so, so I learned a whole lot from kids doing that, and I kind of stuck to that style. I'm sorry, of teaching. So that has helped me a lot in my teaching career so far.
That's powerful what you said. A lot of people don't understand the power of listening to students. It's like, do as I say and, follow through.
Right,
But there's a lot of power in what you just said in terms of how students respond to you.
right, exactly. I'm sorry.
No, was there any particular moment in education where it just kind of confirmed, yeah, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing?
Well, I think that I spent 2 years as an ROTC instructor, and I think that just listening to other experienced teachers saying, and at the time they called me Sergeant Hudson as an ROTC instructor. They said, Sergeant Hudson, look, if anything happens, man, this is what you got to do. You got to keep coming back, no matter what goes on the day before. If you had disappointments or whatever, you got to keep coming back. And as I kept coming back, I realized that, hey, I can do this. I can do this. And then when the ROTC program, uh, was no longer at the school I was at, when my assistant principal came to me and said, you know what, we're not having ROTC no longer because of the fact that we can't meet the rules of the Army. They want us to have a certain amount of kids in the program. He said, but I want you to stay. But when he told me he wanted me to stay, that was it right there. Because he said, I know there's a lot in you and there's a lot that you're going to do. And I know that you're going to do a lot of things in education. But what he told me, Kesha, was that I know you're going to earn a lot of money one day. So you need to stay here. So when he told me I was going to earn a lot of money, I said, okay, I think I need to stay here.
Yeah.
Yes. So but that was powerful, the fact that he asked me to stay because he saw a whole lot in me. And that was it. Money was part of it, but still yet though, the most important part of that, he knew I had it in me.
Right. That is the epitome of your gift making room for you. So
Right.
because you were working and operating in your gift and apparently making an impact and touching lives, he saw that value in you and
Exactly.
continued on.
Exactly.
And so that brings you here today. I understand you're an aspiring administrator.
Yes, no doubt, no doubt. And when I was at the Pineywood School, I did serve as the dean of faculty, and I also served as the student support administrator when I was there. And that was private school. So when I was in the private school, Kesha, their rules were a little different than it was public school. It was private. They did kind of things the kind of way they wanted to, but they still followed the MDE rules, the Mississippi Department of Education rules. So when I came to public school, things were a little different from private school. So I had to so-called work my way in through the system to be noticed about my abilities. And I'm still an aspiring administrator. I feel like that I can lead from anywhere. I can lead from being from the custodial worker to the superintendent. I feel like that I can be positive in any of those capacities. And when I say custodial worker, I mean a custodial worker still. From the custodial worker to the superintendent, still one of the biggest parts of school. Custodial worker, regardless how you look at it. So I feel as though that I can be I can make a positive impact in any one of those positions. So yes, I am an aspiring administrator.
Well, to recognize the worth and the value of everyone in whatever role that they play is key to being an effective leader, in my opinion. So hats off to you for appreciating that in others.
Right. We can't forget it. It was that custodial worker who told you somebody was hanging out in the bathroom.
Okay. That's right.
That's right.
That's right. So everyone has a role to play in success. So that's very important. Is that something that you learned in education, or can you pinpoint a time in your life that has led you to have the insight that you have now?
Well, you know what? I grew up in Darlington, South Carolina. And, my mom was a single parent. She was a single parent. And, it is often said, Kesha, that whenever you go somewhere, you become successful, don't forget where you come from. And I never forget where I came from, but I want people to also understand this, and I mean this from the heart. One of the reasons why people don't go back where they came from because they remember where they came from.
Mm.
Don't want to go back where they came from. But
Mhm.
I know deep in their heart they're saying, hey, this is where you grew up at, and so we want you to come back, and we want you to represent. And I understand that. So I grew up in a shotgun home with 4 kids in South Carolina. So one thing I didn't want to go back to was a shotgun home. I was like, man, I want to get out here and do better, than what my mom did. My mom is doing because that's what my mom wanted me to do.
Mhm.
So once I joined the military and I understood that I could do better, then during that time I was in there, I was thinking, you know what, I can do better. And when I realized I could do better, I worked on it. I went to school while I was in the Army. I started college while I was in the Army. I continued when I got out of the Army. And once I received my degrees in the military and out of the military, I said, you know what, I need to put these to work. So when I realized I need to put them to work, and hey, that was a time where I had to, really get out there and show people, hey, look, I want this. I want to do this. So during that time, it started early when I was a kid and up to now through my military career. And right, like I say, right now I am trying to pursue my dreams.
That persistence and that tenacity that you showed and demonstrated to get you here is powerful. Um, and we know that the most successful people, persistence and the ability to stick to something is key in every
Right,
success story.
right, right.
We're living in a trying time right now,
No
and
doubt.
people are scared and people are frustrated and people are wondering what's next. How are you dealing with all of this anxiety stemming from this pandemic and all of the changes? I know you said you were flexible enough, in the military, and you're flexible. Your flexibility got you through with education. But how are you handling all of this now?
Well, with the thank God for a sound mind. I give a class today on mental health, and thank God for a sound mind. If you got a sound mind, you need to, how I'm handling is that I'm understanding that, look, this is very serious. God is good, and this is very serious. What's going on? So what I do is I make sure that I'm do what I'm asked of. Whatever you ask me, you saying, social distancing. Make sure that you wash your hands. Make sure that you take precautions in doing what you're doing. So, like I tell you, Kesha, and anybody, first of all, this is a change. This is something we had never gone through before, and it's going to make you change. You're going to be changed. There're going to be challenges. There're going to be emotions and all this kind of stuff that's in the play. But the thing about it is, you got to know how to channel that, or you got to know how to handle that. Because you don't, then you're gonna have a hard time. So what I do is, I pray. One of the things I do, I pray, and then once I pray, then I act on what I'm doing that day. But I concentrate on the positives. I concentrate on, because see, with every issue, like every problem that we have, there's always some good coming out of it.
Hmm.
So I'm looking for the good that's coming out of this pandemic. Because if you don't look for the good that's coming out of this pandemic, I mean, you will be frustrated. You mentally you will be dried, because you understand that people are dying from this pandemic, and it saddens me that they are dying. But here's the thing about them dying. I'm quite sure those people, and God rest their souls, they wanted people that were left back here to do some good. And I want to be those people, one of those people who represent them. Like, man, these people died during this pandemic. They didn't wake up the next day saying, I want to die. They want the people that are living to do well and represent each other. And so what I do is, like I say, I pray, I talk to people in a positive manner. I try to uplift them when they're feeling down. I try to let them know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. If they just stay the course and what they're doing, still pursue what you want to pursue. If you're looking for another job, continue to look for another job. If you want to get married, still get married. Whatever it is, I try to concentrate on the positive things in life, Keisha, to make me a better person, better husband, better father, better educator. I have to. I tell people I have no other choice. I have to, because if I don't, then I let myself down and everybody around me down. So basically, that's what I do every day. Every
I
day.
like that. Look for the good.
Right.
Look for the
You have
good.
to.
Continue to do it. Look, I thank you so much, Sergeant Hudson. You have dropped some real nuggets for us today.
Thank you.
Um, as we get ready to close out, you have parents at home, children sitting at home.
Right,
Everybody's probably a little stir crazy, wanting
right.
to get out. What words of wisdom will you leave with them today to make it through the rest of this journey?
Okay. The words of wisdom I leave them, Keisha, is this. First of all, you with family. There's nothing more important than family. Okay. And as you get older, you will see that that some of the things you said have done in the past, right? You thought you might have left your family behind, but they're not gonna forget this time. So while you with them during this time, support them, love them. Whatever steps you are trying to make to be a positive person, continue to be a positive person.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank
Sergeant
you.
Hudson, for being with us today. Let us all continue to be positive. Let us look for the good and let us not let our fellow brothers and sisters down by being selfish or thoughtless or being negative, but let's continue in the positivity as Sergeant Hudson just shared with us. We thank you so much. Thank you all for watching Alive with Kesha. You can tune in on Mondays and Fridays for more live stories. Follow me on Facebook or LinkedIn for showtime. Everyone, stay healthy, stay well, and walk in victory. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace out.